Hi, my name's Rosie. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for clicking on this video. Welcome to a knitting podcast. I'm just going to be straight up front. There are sewing items in here as well. I am more of a seasonal sewer, so I don't tend to sew all year round, and really this is just somewhere to share what I'm making, and most of what I'm making is knitting, but there will be other things in here today. Been a couple of weeks since I filmed my last one of these, so it's a couple of things. Grab a nice drink, grab your project, let me know what you're working on, and let's get into it. First up, we obviously have to start with what I am wearing. This is my camisole number 9. I had cast this on in my last podcast. However, I did frog it. Well, actually, I didn't entirely frog it. Wait, this is the version I had cast on last time I showed this to you. I may have mentioned I was wildly off gauge, and I decided to cast on anyway and figured it probably would be fine. It was not fine. I got to the body bit, tried it on, it was way too big, and that was pre-blocking. So I started again. I didn't even bother fully frogging this. I figured if I needed it, it would make a good gauge swatch and I could block it and do that, but I didn't actually end up doing that, so I need to unravel it. The annoying thing is, because you knit the 4 different bits and then end up joining them, there are multiple bits of yarn in here that are all detached, so it'll be a little bit of a task doing that. But then you would think I would actually bite the bullet and do a proper gauge swatch and block, when what I actually ended up doing was just casting on the smallest size and hope for the best. And I think you'll agree it turned out really well. I'm very pleased with the end result. So the yarn I used was West Yorkshire Spinners Exquisite, which is 80% Falkland wool, 20% silk. I got this on sale from Wool Warehouse, which I was very pleased about. I love this colour. I also got it in a Bordeaux colour that I do not like, and I'm toying with returning it and exchanging it for more of a colour that I like, but I'm not sure on that because that's an unknown process and it sounds complicated. I really like how this yarn works up. I really, really love how it blocks. It just blooms in a way that is just so beautiful. It is a fingering weight yarn, and I did knit this in probably less time than you should knit a fingering weight yarn. I was also learning continental knitting for this project, so it was a whole new way of moving my hands, and I did start to get some hand ache by the end, so I wouldn't recommend knitting it as quickly as I did. Probably better to take breaks, but I was slightly obsessed. I really wanted it, and to be honest, no regrets. I have heard that this yarn pills quite easily. It's got a little bit of like fluff, loose fibre, so I do expect it to pill a little bit, but I'm hoping not too much because I want to get a lot of wear out of this. It is 100% wool, so it's not going to be a height of summer wear, I don't think, because I feel warm where it's on my body, but I'm not too worried about that. I live in England. It's not exactly warm most of the year. This is my first finished object on my new Chalgu shorties, and I loved it. I I don't have any bad things to say about these. I think my gauge is slightly looser with metal needles, so I might need to figure that out. But I don't think that's a Chalgu thing. I think that's just slippery yarn, slippery needles. I think it would have happened on any. As I said, this is the camisole number 9. The pattern is by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I've not done a My Favorite Things Knitwear pattern before, and I really liked it. For me, I'm fairly experienced in reading patterns, so I found it very straightforward. I've seen other people talk about it not being the most beginner friendly because it doesn't hold your hand for every single thing, but for me personally, I found it very straightforward, very descriptive. It linked videos for any bits that maybe you wouldn't necessarily 100% get straight away from the instructions. The neckline and the armholes are knit, cast off, and then folded over and sewn down, and you get this decorative effect, which I've seen people talk about being a chain stitch, but it's not. I don't believe it is it looks like a chain stitch, but it's just back stitching through the cast off edge, and it gives an appearance of chain stitch. And I really love it. I loved it so much that I modified the bottom hem to look the same. What I did was I did a short row to turn my work so that the purl bumps would be on the right side, so that I could then cast off. Made sure to do it very loosely, although it's still a little bit tighter, but it fits over my head and I can't tell what I'm wearing it. But I cast off loosely, folded it up and chain stitched it down exactly the same way as the neck and the arms. And I'm very pleased with how it looked. I made the body shorter than the pattern recommends. I based it off other tops I have like this and also tried it on, and I'm very happy with the length. It perfectly hits my jeans, but if I raise my arms up in the air, it also doesn't rise up too much. So in terms of modification, yes, I made it shorter. I changed the hem, and I also added a couple of rows when knitting just the top bit to make sure that the armholes wouldn't be too tight, because I was off gauge stitch count wise, but row count I was more or less on gauge. I think with blocking I'm still above, but not as off as the other way. So I wanted to make sure that there was plenty of room in the armholes, which there is. So very happy with that. It was just 2 or 3 rows. So I don't actually know that it made a huge amount of difference, but for peace of mind, it did. Overall, I really love this finished object. I will definitely be making some more. We'll talk about that in the acquisitions part of this video, but I think this is going to be a pattern that I make time and time again. I know I wear this style of top all the time, so I'm very excited. If you'd like to see more of the process of making this top, I actually vlogged it, and I will link that video when it's out somewhere on the screen and down in the description. Next, in a slightly random interlude between the knitting and the sewing finished objects, I want to show you something that I made at Craft Club. I made these tiny little frogs and I am obsessed, so obsessed. Actually, I should be wearing them as earrings to showcase them. I do this thing with my earrings where I just keep these little hoops in all the time, and then all of my dangly earrings I have on little clips so that I can just change them that way, because I found my ears get really irritated otherwise, and it's changed the game completely. So highly recommend. Obviously you have slight catching danger, so be mindful of that health and safety aspect, but if you're careful and don't think about it too much, it's okay. So yeah, I made these little beaded frogs. They are made just with wire and a pattern that I found online, and this is definitely a hobby I could see myself getting more into. I think they would make great little gifts, so I'm just so pleased with them. One of the people there actually had a chicken that they'd made, and they said it took forever and ever, and I don't know if I have the patience, but it was amazing. And you'll see in a bit, I have a slight chicken obsession going on, so it might happen, it might not, but I just wanted to show them off because I love them so much and I think they're so cute. Yeah, I do love a frog, in case you hadn't noticed. Every year it hits a point where I get to slightly warmer weather. It varies from year to year the exact time it hits, but at some point I go, I want to do sewing projects now. I don't know why I'm not as inclined to them in the winter, but I know a lot of people are seasonal knitters as well. I like to have things on my needles as much as possible at the moment, but that changes year to year as well. Sometimes I go through seasons where I don't knit at all, so who knows? I don't know what I'm saying, but yes, what I was trying to say was that I hit a point in the year where I just wanted to sew. Without further yapping, let's look at it. This is my Skyline dress by Sydney Graham. I love it so much. This is probably one of my favorite things that I've ever made, and I made my wedding dress, so it says something. I am just obsessed. I think I'm going to be wearing this all summer long. Honestly, at the moment I'm wearing it as soon as it's clean. I've washed it several times and it's only been done a week and a couple days. Fabric it's made from is, to my understanding, all cottons, but they are all thrifted for the most part. Actually, this green I bought for a different project, but then messed up the project, so had to use the scraps. But the other ones are all thrifted fabrics or come from other items of clothing that I had in my stash. And so I picked out all of my stash things. I knew I wanted to make patchwork and picked these 4 pieces of fabric, and I think they work so well together. I'm so pleased with how they look. The pattern is the Skyline Dress by Sydney Graham, and this is my first Sydney Graham pattern. I actually haven't made that many patterns in my life, which is probably why a lot of my sewing doesn't turn out super well. So I'm endeavouring to follow more patterns. I decided I wanted to make this dress because I've been looking on Pinterest for summer inspiration, and one of the things was big floaty tiered dresses. And then I was looking on the Sydney Graham website for other patterns. I was looking at the lane pants and I saw this and I thought, that's incredible. And then I saw that people had made it patchwork and I was like, that's even more incredible. And so I had a look at what everyone had done. I had a look at what I had. And if you want to see the full process, this is also in the video that I linked down below, so you can see that. But essentially, the outcome was amazing. I love it so much. The dress pattern, very simple. I definitely will be making more, probably in a plain color next time, because the time taken to do the patchwork, mostly cutting out the patchwork, sewing up the patchwork, was the most time consuming part of making this. Everything else felt like it took no time at all. I feel like I could make a whole dress in a day if I wanted to. As it was, it probably took me 3 or 4 days, some of that being spread over a couple of evenings. The dress has pockets, so I don't think I need to say any more about how incredible it is, to be honest. I love it so much. I can't wait to wear it all summer long. If you want to make this pattern yourself, I highly recommend it. I just followed the written instructions and found that sufficient, but I know that there is a video as well, and there's a video on how to make it patchwork. I haven't watched either of them. I sort of wanted to give it a go myself. Sometimes I don't think things through all that much. Bit of a ADHD brain moment. Nonetheless, I'm very pleased. Very, very pleased. I don't think I can say that any more times before you go, okay, we get it. So that is everything I have to say about this dress. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Let's move on to whips. I will briefly show this one because I have made progress. It's exciting, but it's not super exciting. They're not done. These are my turning point socks that I am knitting for my husband. I am using, oh dear, they've come off. The stitches have come off. Emergency. Ah. Oh no, they've dropped. Oh, I'm going to hate fixing this later. We've sorted it for now. Again, metal needles. I did not understand the function of needle stoppers until I got metal needles. I'd never had that problem until metal needles. I should get some needle stoppers because I'm having that problem a lot at the moment. Anyway, when I spoke about these in my last podcast, I was about halfway through the chart on the leg. I have now finished the chart on the leg. I'm very happy with how it's looking. It is a bit of an arduous knit because it's fingering weight, but also very concentrated. This was fingering weight, but at a certain point it was just stockinette, it was just go. But this, every other row, you're doing some cabling. But I made it to the heel flap. I am very excited about it. I have, however, put it down for a little bit because I was focused on my camisole number 9. No regrets. Sorry, Will. I will finish them one day. Oh, my earrings are in here. But because I've gotten onto the heel flap, it means that I've started holding the strengthening with the main yarn, strengthening thread. I don't know what to call this. One thing I will say is that it obviously is making it chunkier, and I don't know whether that's going to affect the fit at all. I think I am only going to do it on the heel flap and then probably also the toes. I might find a pair of my husband's socks and see where there are holes and see if there's any other bits that might want to be reinforced. But I think I'm content to leave it at that for now. And then when I darn them, I will use the strengthening. I am now very keen to finish these because I would like the remnants of the yarn for something else, which I will talk about in a second, but I think it's still going to be a little while before they're finished unless I really focus down on them. But I don't really want to do that for now because, as I said, I've just finished this fingering weight project and I want to kind of give my hands a little bit of a break from tiny projects done very quickly. Before I forget to say, this is a turning point from my 52 Weeks of Socks book. I have actually modified these so that they're shorter because the original ones are almost knee-high in design, and I was originally on a deadline and thought I can't do that quickly, and B, I didn't want to knit all of that length, and C, I definitely don't have enough yarn to do that. But I am hoping to have leftovers of this yarn. If not, I'll buy more and then I'll definitely have leftovers. Speaking of giving my hands a bit of a break, I have cast on a nice chunky project. This is 4.5mm needles. Ooh, but worsted weight gauge, although I think I'm slightly above. I'll talk about that in a second, but can you guess what I'm knitting? If you've seen this pattern or made this pattern, you'll probably know immediately what it is. If not, you're probably looking at it going, what on earth? What on earth is that? But this is the first half of the tail for the emotional support chicken. This was on my 25 things I want to knit before I'm 25, and I kind of impulsively cast it on last night because I wanted to knit something, but I didn't want to knit anything tiny or too brain melting because my brain has been melted a lot anyway recently. So I cast this on and I am so excited about it. I just went into my stash for this and had a look at what I had and decided on a couple of things. So firstly, I'm using this yarn, which is left over from my step-by-step sweater. If you want to see more on that, I have a podcast where I talk about it. So go look for that. I think it's my last one. But this is just a acrylic yarn from Hobbycraft, Aran weight. I am then holding it again with the Make It Tweed, the same as my step-by-step sweater, because I just wanted my chicken to be a little more funky, you know, have a little something. So and I have a lot of this yarn left over, and then I'm also holding it with what is essentially an acrylic mohair. It's a bit weird. It's a fluffy lace weight, but acrylic yarn. Someone's making funky noises outside. And I am holding this because I just want my chicken to have a bit of extra fluff. And also this is a bit whiter, creamier, and so makes the whole fabric a little bit whiter and creamier, which I wanted for the vibe of my chicken. I have a brown fluffy crazy yarn I'm considering also incorporating to make it look like a specific chicken that I was scrolling through different white chicken breeds, and there was one that I particularly liked. But I think what I might do is at the end duplicate stitch onto the chicken to give that effect, because these stripes in the pattern I don't feel like match up with that chicken, and if I want it to look like a chicken I want to do it exactly which is maybe a little bit crazy, but here we are. I then have some other colours in here which will just serve as the scraps that I need to do the beak and the plume, chicken plume. That might not be what it's called, but that's what I'm saying it is. You know what I mean, so that's all that's important. But yeah, I am on the second bit. Oh no, oh my gosh. I said wooden needles didn't have this problem. It's because I was mid-row. Here we go. I am on the second bit of the wing, and then you seam them together and pick up stitches again along the long side and make the rest of the chicken in that direction. And I'm very excited. The pattern is very easy to follow, reasonably straightforward. The only thing that's confused me is that I'm used to things being in rounds and it's actually in steps. So some steps will say do this and do it 3 times. And then the next step is the next number up rather than it being the row that you're on, which might throw you off if you're used to counting the rows, but you can still do that. It just takes a little bit more brain work. Sorry. So that's it for strict whips that I am currently working on. I have a couple others that I haven't made any progress on, so I'm not going to talk about them. I apologise, by the way, if you can hear my neighbour's, I think, electric hedge trimmer, something in the background. It's annoying me, but you might not be able to hear it, I don't know. So I talked in my last podcast about the fact that I'm making the cat knit sweater. I have not done anything to progress that because I was way off gauge with my swatch, and so I wanted to do some other things to improve my tension before I then go and try and swatch again, and hopefully it's closer, or I can change my needle sizes and figure it out. But I was a little bit sad that I couldn't just cast on after this, so I wanted to take a little bit of a break. So my plan with that was to improve my continental knitting so that 2-stranded colour work goes a lot smoother, and that's what this project was for. I think I definitely achieved that. I feel a lot more comfortable doing continental knitting now. This was a lot of stitches, so I got a lot of practice in. So the next thing that I'm going to cast on are the herding hen socks. I keep calling them the chicken socks. The herding hen socks by Stone Knits, and I've talked about this, I think, several times, but I definitely talked about it in my last podcast. I can't believe that I've held off casting on them, to be honest. I'm so excited about them. I'm a little bit, I think, apprehensive, so that's why I maybe not cast them on yet. But I have made some changes to what I am going to make them in, so I thought I'd just tell you that, give you a little update. I was looking at the pattern and realised, silly me, that the hens, in order to look like hens, the colours of the plume and the beak needed to sort of be the yellow and the red. But I was originally planning on making red socks. So I realised that I might need to change what I do. And then I realised that when I bought the yarn for my husband's turning point socks, I also bought myself some grey yarn, which is maybe not the kind of colour I would normally work with. I was having a bit of a grey moment in my head. I actually didn't make anything in grey, but I bought this yarn and I think this could work out really well. So what I'm planning to do is finish the turning point socks so that hopefully I have a little bit of that yellow left over, which hopefully, even if it's just a small amount, will be perfect for the beaks of the chickens. And then I will do the cuffs, heels and toes in the red, and then the main bits in the grey. And I think that will provide the perfect contrast for this lovely Salbert crazy yarn that I'm going to do the chickens in. So I'm very excited about that. I put the colour chart into Stitch Fiddle so I could sort of visualise the colours, and I think I'm very happy with how it's going to look. I've mentally made progress, but I haven't cast them on yet. I have told myself I'm going to finish the turning point socks before I cast them on, but the turning point socks do feel like they're taking forever, so I might cast these on and at least start them, even if I have to then stop because I don't have the yellow yarn yet. I have one acquisition in terms of yarn, and then I have some fabric that I have also acquired that I want to show you. But first, the yarn, which is kind of a plan / acquisition. Somewhat impulsively the other day, I decided to go to Sutton Gren on my lunch break. I am determined to find everywhere in Brighton that I can buy yarn. I'm making a little series over on TikTok and Instagram if you're interested in seeing that, but I bought some cotton yarn from Sutton Gren. I know that I want to make another Camisole number 9 with it. I think it will be very interesting to see how it knits up in a completely different fibre. I will be most interested to see if my gauge is more on with a more a less stretchy fibre, and if that means that I don't have to do sort of guesswork. I will be doing a swatch this time. I think now that I've made this pattern once, I can go a bit slower with the second one, but I do want to finish this so that I can wear it in the slightly warmer months that are coming up. So, I mean, it's June, so that's kind of now, but hopefully I will finish it before the end of the summer. But it's not going to be my next cast on, and I have other things I want to finish. I'm very excited about this colour. I spent a lot of time picking colours. I was very close to going for a different pink, but I think this is just more of a me shade, and I think it will just go with more of my wardrobe. So I'm very happy with that. I got 4 balls. I have actually zero clue whether that's going to be enough or too little, but we'll find out. I haven't looked at the yardage and all of that. I didn't use a full 2 skeins of this, and that was 100 grams. Theoretically, absolutely fine, although the gauge will be different, won't it? So who knows? And then the last thing I want to talk about in this video is some fabric that I bought. I don't know about you, but I am a big gingham fan. I love gingham, but for some reason, I don't have all that much gingham in my wardrobe, although that is changing with the addition of this dress, which is obviously partially gingham. We're getting there. So I bought some gingham fabric. This is cotton. I bought it from Fabrics Galore, and I am just in love. This one in particular is very exciting. It has smaller checks on one side and bigger checks on the other. So I am having a think about what I want to make. I kind of love the idea of making something reversible, but I don't know. I kind of just want to make something in it. It's very soft. It's very floaty, squishy. I'm not sure what the type of fabric it is, but it is woven in a way that feels softer and squishier than just plain normal cotton fabric, if that makes sense. But I am very excited to use these. These I'm going to be making a pair of trousers. I cannot remember the pattern name off the top of my head, but I'll put it on screen. And I'm excited. I'm so excited to have them. I will almost certainly be wearing the trousers with this top. Look out for that. I'll let you know how I get along with that. I'll almost certainly vlog making these, so subscribe if you'd like to see that. This, as I said, I haven't decided. I would love to make something reversible with it, but nothing is singing to me. I feel like I'd love another pair of trousers in these. I think I would probably get the most wear out of a pair of trousers in these, but the flowiness of this fabric makes me want to make a dress out of it. So I might make another Skyline dress. I might make some trousers. I have quite a lot of it. I might make some shorts and something else. I haven't decided. If you have any inside out reversible pattern recommendations, please let me know in the comments, because I just think it would be so much fun to have the option to have big print or small print. The other thing that would be really cool, dungarees would be really cool in these, like overalls. Ooh, that would be fun. But I think it would be really cool to do not a reversible pattern, but some of the things in the big check and some of it in the small, maybe like pockets and folding up hems and things would look really cool in that. Oh, the idea of dungarees is really like very slouchy, Lusignac style casual dungarees. Oh, could be really cool in this. Again, I'll probably vlog that, so follow along. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed hearing me yap about what I've made and what I'm making. I will do another one of these in a couple of weeks and let you know what else I'm making. That's how these knitting podcasts go. That's how they work. Let me know if you enjoyed hearing about the sewing projects as well. Let me know if you've seen anyone call these things something else, because I feel like I've seen a lot of people do knitting podcasts but talk about their crochet and their sewing within the same thing, and I think that's kind of widely accepted because the knitting podcast is an established thing, and in terms of discoverability on YouTube especially, I think continuing to call it a knitting podcast makes sense. But maybe there's another thing that people call these that I could transition to, or maybe I'll go off on my own thing. As it stands, I think most of what I do is knitting, so I'll stick to it for now. I'd love to know what you want to make next. Are you a summer knitter? Are you a strictly big jumpers? Do you even make clothes? I feel like a lot of what we talk about on the online knitting and craft space is making clothes. Maybe that's just what I'm interested in, but I'm really enjoying knitting the emotional support chicken, which is not an item for wear. It's an item for probably putting on my sofa and weirding people out when they come around. I think I've probably yapped enough for one video, so I will speak to you soon. Bye!